right, guys, it is my absolute privilege to bring to the stage. I say let's bring them all out at the same time. Okay, ladies and gentlemen, here we go. Chandler Riggs! Denise Crosby! Ross Marquand! Michael Cudlitz! And Greg Nicotero! Keep it going, guys. Keep it going. Keep it going.
Hey.
Do we all have mics? We all set?
Yep.
What up? How is Chicago? Yeah. Nice.
Amazing. How are you guys? How's the weekend been so far?
Great.
Awesome.
Wonderful.
Fun.
Yeah, it's been great. So great to come back and get to see you guys. A lot of familiar faces too, which is awesome. It's great to be back.
Awesome. Well, it's so cool to have you guys here this weekend. How often, because I feel obviously there's so many people in this ensemble cast now, how often do the 5 of y'all get the chance to be together?
Very rarely.
Yeah.
At these events, unless I happen to work with Greg not that long ago, I guess. Yeah, on something else. But yeah, these are the places we get to hang, see each other.
I think the last time I saw Denise was 2 years ago, 3 years ago.
Already?
Yeah.
That long?
Yeah.
Ross spent a birthday with me in Denver.
Oh,
right.
we'll always have Denver.
What happens in Denver stays
Does not
in Denver.
stay in Denver.
Yeah. we went to a mezcaleria. Mezcal is my favorite drink of choice.
And pozole.
And pozole,
yeah.
And yeah, thank you.
Right?
And we had a lot of mezcal.
We
My gosh.
had a flight.
Oof.
We had a flight of mezcal.
That was good. It was very good.
And some pozole.
I'm still trying to get over Chandler's voice. For some reason, you're still like
I know.
9 years old in my brain.
Yeah. I mean, my voice still cracks. Like
It does? Okay,
yeah,
good.
that hasn't gone away. Don't worry.
I was a little worried. Guys, but I got to tell you, this is strange. June 1st of this year will mark the 15th anniversary of when we started filming Walking Dead. 15 years, and on Halloween night will be the 15th anniversary.
Damn.
So I was 2 when we shot the show. I was very young. But it still blows me away. Like, I see Chandler, and yes, he's a grown man now, but I always remember him, like, shooting machine guns on his 14th birthday. I got into trouble because we were shooting at the prison, and he was out there, and it's like 11:59, 12 o'clock. He's out there shooting machine guns, and we're taking pictures, and I have pictures of him posing with all these guns, and they're like, you can't show those. He's a minor holding guns. And I was like, I didn't realize that was the thing, but evidently it was.
Well, it still aired the episode, so,
Yeah, they can still see it on TV, you just can't look at the photo.
And in 8 years of working on that show, he was definitely the most mature person on the entire show.
Oh, shut up.
He was.
Shut up.
He
Was
was.
not.
Shut up.
Was
He
not.
He was. I mean, he really was.
I thought Josh was. No.
No, not Josh. Definitely not Josh. Oh, God, no. Yeah.
So you mentioned almost 15 years, and obviously still such an incredibly strong fan base. So what would you say it is about the Walking Dead fan base that's different from any other fan base that y'all have been part of?
I think they're just incredibly loyal. It's one of those shows that when I started doing conventions and panels and signings, people would come up and say, oh, I watched this. It's the one thing that brings our whole family together. And you'd have people who, young kids, sometimes very, very young kids, and you're thinking, okay. But they're watching it as a family, and the kids and the parents and the grandparents, and it brings them together. And I think that generational thing, when I was growing up, it was like, family night was Mutual of Omaha and Disney on Sunday nights, and now it's The Walking Dead. But that's what brought these families together, and obviously because it's multi-generational, and some of those kids that were watching it as teenagers now have their own kids, and then people are coming up and saying, oh, I just introduced my kids to it. So I just think that the staying power of the show has to do with the amount of generations it covers and the people that it connected with, and it's you guys. So again, like these weekends are about you guys, so we thank you for being the incredible fans that you are.
Maybe we should change it to Walt Disney's The Walking Dead. on Sunday nights. And then
We did
Mutual
talk about
of
doing a
Omaha's
musical
Walking Dead.
episode a few times.
Did
Remember
we?
that? Yeah. Scott was really close to writing one, actually.
Really? I
Yeah.
don't remember.
It was
that.
going to be like someone was going to be hallucinating, and it was going to be like walkers were going to be singing and stuff. Do you remember this?
No.
Oh yeah, it was.
I remember in Rick's last episode, there was going to be this whole weird scene that was going to happen when he was in the car with Shane, and he's imagining everybody else being killed outside the windows of the car. And it was this big, weird, like, surrealistic thing. Him and Matt Negretti, I think, wrote that episode. And it was just like, they were like, well, we can't shoot that. We can't kill every single character. Even when we did the lineup with Negan, because they were so worried about spoilers, we had to shoot shots of every single person being hit with the bat just to throw everyone off. So, and it just occurs to me, I killed 75% of the people on this stage in the show. So, sorry.
It's all good.
And I took in your hand, so more like 80%. Sorry about that. I remember calling Melissa once between seasons, and I'm like, hey, it's Greg, how you going? She's like, what? What's going on? What's happening? Am I going to die?
We need to cast your head.
Yeah, I know. We did cast her head, actually. Well, Melissa was supposed to die at the prison in season 3. Thank you. And we brought her to L.A. and we did a head cast of her because we didn't know what was going to happen. And then the storyline kind of changed and evolved. So at one point, she was ready to go.
What do you think The Walking Dead taught audiences about humanity?
That people
Don't trust
suck.
anyone.
That it's awful.
No matter how bad it gets in the world, people will still be shitty.
So what you're saying is nothing good.
And
But don't lose hope.
Yeah, I think Eugene always talked about it. He's like, you can see yourself in all these characters. Like there's someone for everyone on this show, and you can relate to whether it's Abraham, Carl, Rick, Michonne. There's someone for everyone who watches it, and it gives you that sense of hope because it's all about what's the word? It's family, but it's like your chosen family, and that's a really beautiful message, especially with the way things are now in the world. I think people are like, we need to come together and we need to have that chosen family now more than ever, which I think is why people watch the show over and over again, because they can see some parallels between the show and the real world,
Yeah, and the truth is, if this would have ever been a movie, it would have not been the same.
Yeah.
You wouldn't have had, the time to get to know the characters. And a lot of this is Frank Darabont, who cast the show originally, because his forte was great ensemble cast stories. Shawshank Redemption, The Green Mile, The Mist, every movie that Frank had done were all amazing ensemble casts. So you could not fall in love with them. And then as you get deeper and deeper into the show, and then we bring in new characters, other characters, but it's like Ross was saying, there's somebody for each person to identify with. You identify with Glenn or with Maggie or with Carl or with Daryl. There's always somebody there that you can root for. And I think that was always what was so crushing when that person would die. It was that harsh reality of taking that person that you clung to away. And, look, for the show, it had very tough circumstances in a lot of instances because the audience and us didn't want those characters to go. One of the saddest stories with Michael was he sat in my office one day and he's like, man, I fucking love this job. This is the best job I've ever had. And I'm like, don't worry about it. You're like, I could work here forever. I'm like, don't worry, you're not going anywhere. We love you. Show's great. It's 1 o'clock in the afternoon. At 3 o'clock, they go, hey, Greg, there's a meeting downstairs. And they're like, okay, so Abraham's going to go. And I was literally like, but I just told him.
Don't trust anyone.
I was so mortified. And look, when Chandler can talk about, everybody can talk about those moments of like Scott Wilson coming to me going, they're fattening me up. I can feel it, it's coming. And Soniqua going, yeah, they're fattening me up. but I just got this call for this Star Trek thing, so what should I do? And I'm like, Star Trek's a pretty good gig. I don't know. But yeah, so you always have somebody that you connect to, and that's a brilliance of our actors and casting and that kind of story.
How did filming, and y'all filmed in Atlanta, was it, right? Or Georgia? How did filming in Atlanta affect performances and also effects and makeup?
No fake sweat. I'll tell you that. Man, it was some really hot. We shot in probably some of the hottest months of the year that we could have possibly shot in the most humid part of Georgia. So it's about as brutal as it gets. We would have the snake wrangler would go out 2 hours before we would go out and shoot in the woods every day to go and clear out all the snakes. So we don't have any issues. And yeah, no fake sweat. It was all very real. And yeah, a lot of long, hot days.
I think the weather in Georgia played a huge character in the show because we were all supposed to, it's the end of the world. We're miserable. Most of the time you're walking around, you are miserable. Just so far as being out in the heat and the humidity and the bugs. We loved shooting there, but there's the quality that brings out in you that they have to do a little less makeup on you for making you look sweaty and tired and dirty because we're living that life. I would say for you guys, just to tee you up on this, the struggle comes with the makeup at times because some of the stuff staying on when they're sweating, these latex appliances, some people sweat a lot more than others, obviously, and Greg can talk about those sort of issues with keeping the makeup on.
Well, that was the big thing, was that before this show came out, there had never been anything like this on TV. I'm really proud of the show and the fact that not only did we make this kind of show and zombies really forefront in today's society, because before then it was George Romero movies or video games. So the big thing was, how do we keep the makeups on through the course of the day? What's weird is you'd bitch about how hot it would be, but then you forget about it because there's nothing you can do about it. You're pulling ticks off of you, and you get in the shower every day, and you're finding these bugs and horrible things on you. But you have to double the amount of glue to keep the stuff on, and then at the end of the day, it takes twice as long to take the makeup off because you've doubled the glue. And you have to teach everybody when they're itchy, you can't scratch, you gotta tap. If it's itchy, you gotta tap. And then on top of the makeup, then you put the dentures in, then you put the contact lenses in, so they're hot, sweaty, blind, can't talk, drooling on themselves, and with snakes around, and then they have to act. And I used to yell at the actors in a nice way, not these actors, the zombie actors. And I would say, you're just as important in this scene as any of these people, because if you blow a shot or you don't hit your mark or you step too far forward and you get injured, because we had a lot of stunt people, you guys are just as important. So we'd have to rehearse with them. So they were in scenes, with the actors, and they had to rehearse. And so our actors and our zombie performers were really important to the show. And the ones that were great, we'd bring back over and over again. So they talked, I always loved when they would talk to the actors, and they're like, hey, you killed me 17 times last week. But they never looked the same because the actors, these guys didn't know who it was. But I was like, hey, it's me. And they're like, sorry, I have no idea who you are.
So if it's okay with y'all, like I mentioned, we do have a microphone, so whatever questions you guys might have, now is your chance.
Oh, the thing is crushing
the thing is making it.
Yes. Ben. I'm Ben Grimm. Get out of my way.
Hey, what's your name? What's your question?
My name's Casey. Nice to meet you guys. I met Chandler and Michael today, or Chandler yesterday. Michael
We're
today.
awesome, right?
Yes, sir. You guys are awesome.
Hell yeah.
So quick question, mostly for you guys. What was one day in particular that it was completely grueling and you guys were like, oh man, I can't wait to get home and shower and go to bed and rest?
Well, I loved when I got to do this fight scene with Carol, and Greg handed me a pair of flame retardant underwear to wear under my skirt. so that in the midst of thousands of real lit candles, I wouldn't burn my butt off. And I went, no, I'm not going to burn my butt off. I'm going to bypass the flame retardant underwear. That was memorable.
I remember that.
Yeah.
They were mine, by the way, which is really weird.
I had a feeling. I had a feeling.
I have 3 pair of flame retardant underwear.
You wearing them now?
have
I
edible.
may or may not be wearing one right now. I have a crazy day when the cold opening for the episode where I'm like, oh, honey, you know, you look a damn mess, or whatever I say to her. And then I smash her head up along the side of the truck. And basically we're shooting this whole sequence from jump out of the truck and kill a bunch of walkers. And then the last shot is me using the butt of the rifle and smashing the head up against the side of the truck. And Greg comes to me and he says, yeah, well, yeah. Greg says, so the way these heads work, you've never busted one of these open before, but it's basically a big balloon filled with blood. The entire head is a big sack of blood. But like, you got to hit it right, or it doesn't break right. And if you don't hit it hard enough, it won't break. So you got to really hit this thing hard, and you got to follow through all the way. And if you do it right, then it'll be a nice big explosion of blood. So we set the whole thing up, we get everything ready. This is, going to be one of the last shots of the day. And Greg calls action, we do the thing, we set it up, and I'm thinking to myself, well, you got to nail this thing. I hit this thing so hard, it literally blows up, covers me like Carrie, completely soaked in blood in 110-degree weather. About 5 o'clock in the afternoon, the sun baking down, covered in blood. Greg's like, we got it? Great, cut, go home. Everyone takes off, and I'm standing there, this is one of the early episodes that I had done, so I had no idea, and I'm just covered in blood like Carrie, and just thinking, what the heck, what do you mean, go home? So that was my nastiest day, and it was early on.
I remember that shot.
I bet.
Well, look, I mean, I went home covered in blood almost every day. That was the joke. Denise, who was one of our producers, was always like, well, Greg's covered in blood again. I think when we were in season 2 or 3, when Daryl and Merle were on the bridge, and they fight a bunch of zombies, and Daryl slams the back of the car on a zombie head. And I was underneath puppeteering the head, and the thing crashed, and he slammed it. I was like Michael, covered in blood. I had like $20 in my pocket, pure red. I still have the $20 bill. So I remember leaving, and I walk up, and the owner of AMC Networks was there, and they're like, hey, Greg, do you want to meet the president of the network? And I'm like dripping, and there's flies stuck to my face. And every day you'd go home, and you'd walk into the shower with all your clothes on, and it was like Psycho every day. Like, I'm surprised I didn't get evicted from my apartment, because there was so much dried blood on the walls. It was like American Psycho every day in my apartment.
Awesome.
All right.
Thank you so much. Hey, what's your name?
Gab. I just have a very general question, but what is some good acting advice?
I'd say never take anything personal. Like that's something I wish someone had told me early in my career. Is just you can never take rejection as a personal thing. You never know what they're looking for before you go into the casting, right? So they may be, in their mind, they have an idea of what this person or this character is supposed to look like before you even open your mouth. And if you keep that in mind, that like it's never personal, it's never about you, take every audition as a learning opportunity, and just never be discouraged if you don't get the part. 99% of the job is rejection, unfortunately. And if you keep getting back on the horse, you're going to get there eventually. It just takes a lot of having like a literal like steel spine where you don't take anything personal, and you'll get there. Yeah.
Thank you.
Of course.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
I think for me, I would just add on to that, I think like the most valuable thing for me to have done in the last few years, acting-wise, is to do everything on set once, like all of the roles, like operate camera, pull focus, like do wardrobe, light a scene, like do everything like once, because then it's like it really it just helps you be way more of a team player on set, because then because if your performance can't be captured, then it means nothing. So, if you're able to work with the focus puller and you know what T-stop the lens is at, and you're able to know, okay, I can't move too forward or backwards, or it's not going to be in focus, or I need to stay right on my mark so the light hits me, so I can actually everyone else's job is done well, then it's it just helps you be more of a team player.
And to that point,
a great
Cudlitz,
answer.
yeah, I mean, we all started in crew. I mean, you and I, you more so than anybody, I think you were doing crew a long time. And Cooper, who played Jerry on the show, he was one of our sound guys before he was Jerry. So the more you can get the behind the scenes stuff that Chandler's talking about, it'll just help you inform your decisions so much more, and you'll be able to speak the language of film so much better too. Yeah.
Hey,
Good luck to you.
what's your name?
Hi, I'm Elle. I met a few of you guys. I have a question for Greg. I'm a younger cosplayer. I've been doing it since I was about 9. Do you have any advice for special effects or makeup or whatever?
Well, look, I mean, the advantage is there's a lot of great stuff out there that you can find, how-to videos and things. When I was growing up, none of that existed. I was literally stealing Elmer's glue from my school art project and making burns on my wrist and tearing all the hair out. So, I think the idea would be to put a portfolio together and just photograph everything that you do. You can do a zombie makeup, or you could do a bruise makeup, or you can, and be well-rounded. A lot of times people just squirt blood on themselves and say, "Oh, look, that's a makeup." I'm like, no, it's not a makeup. So I think nowadays, if you know how to do straight makeup and bruises and trauma wounds and stuff, and then get into the special effects makeup element of it, I think it's just great to be well-rounded, because they'll hire you if you can do more than just one job.
All right,
Good
thank
luck.
you.
Good luck.
Hey, what's your name?
I guess I'm taking the mic.
All right.
Hi guys, my name is Rhiannon, and I'm the current Miss Chicago for the Miss America opportunity, but also a lifelong, thank you guys, a lifelong Walking Dead fan. My question is actually for Chandler. In 2015, I was at a Comic-Con and you had the Riggs family show. I was selected to play a game on stage. I believe it was called Kenema. I'm curious if you still play.
The kendama, yeah, it was like a little
Yes.
Japanese toy, right?
Yes, yeah, fond memory.
Yeah, and no, I don't still play it. So yeah, yeah, a little anticlimactic, but yeah, no, it was great. We always talk about how we used to love going and doing those Walker Stalker shows, and just how great it was with you guys here. So yeah, yeah, it was
well,
great.
thank you so much, guys.
Best of luck. Congratulations.
Hello, my name is Beth, longtime Walking Dead fan, and I'm again for Chandler. When you got bit, I saw that mid-season finale. I was snotting on myself, crying at that episode. But in my head, I envisioned it coming back, and it was a whisperer bite and not actually a walker. I was wondering what you think of that would have turned out that way instead. And then also, I'd love to hear Abraham's last final words, if we could, too.
Yeah, I mean, I loved seeing all the theories and thoughts and everything online. I think my first thought when someone had brought up that if it was a whisperer thing, it's the whisperer would just stab you. They would just they wouldn't really bite, and fully pretend to be a zombie, yeah, I mean, I think at the end of the day, that whole sequence, I think we did as good of a job as we could have done with that. I mean, Greg directed the majority of all that, the sequences and everything that happened with it. So, and yeah, I'm pretty happy with how it turned out. And I honestly, it couldn't have been better than it was. Yeah.
Suck my nuts. My mom is so proud.
That's sad. I didn't even remember that. I didn't even remember that was your last. I was too traumatized shooting all that stuff myself.
Hey, what's your name?
I remember the performance of the zombie that ate Carl's mother, and it was just I'm a zombie, so I'm still hungry, but I'm so full, because you had the special effect of him just being swole up from eating an entire person, and he's just lying there, What's your favorite zombie acting performance? Not special effect, but the acting performance of your zombies.
Oh, wow. Well, I was talking about that today because the fun thing about that scene was when Rick finally makes it down into the boiler room, that we put a big prosthetic belly on the zombie like he just gorged himself on poor Laurie. We're kind of sick. That's
Yeah,
fun.
it is. It is
That's
really, yeah.
Guys, I apologize, but that was kind of gross. That's a really hard question because we had a lot of really good actors, zombie actors, and we brought them back over and over and over again. I always go to the Bicycle Girl, Melissa McCowan is our first real zombie because we were still figuring out the rules. Even when you get to episode 2 of season 1, when they have rocks in their hands and they're breaking the windows, that's how we got away with that mutation in the final season because we're like, oh, the zombies are variants. And I was like, wait, that was 10 seasons ago. What are you talking about? But we had a lot of them. But, I think in the earlier seasons, we spent more time with the walkers. I think as the season progressed, the minute that you have somebody like Christian, who weighs 98 pounds, walking into 20 zombies and killing all of them without breaking a sweat, it becomes a little unbelievable. But in the earlier incarnations of the show, when the characters were still a little afraid of them, I prefer that because I always wanted the zombies to be scary. And that was one of the big fights that I always had. I'm like, you have to write scary scenes for the zombies to be in. When we got to the Whisperers, that was such a creepy element of the show because it was like Michael Myers. They had these faces, but there was no emotion behind it. And that's what I liked about the Whisperers was the concept of that. But in terms of zombie performances, I could name 20 names of people that we really, really liked that did it. But, Melissa did great. The Well Walker was great. I'm a great zombie because I was, a bunch of zombies. So,
I love Morgan's wife.
Very subtle.
Season 1, where she's kind of looking into the keyhole or the eye hole of the door, and she's trying to figure things out, and there's still some humanity there. And
that's because we didn't know the rule. We still were developing the rules. Frank was still like, when we did episode 1, he's like, well, in Night of the Living Dead, that was our guide. Night of the Living Dead was our guide for the zombie performances. So when they picked up the rock in Night of the Living Dead, and Bill Heinzman's trying to smash the window, and Barbara's trying to get away, that was all like we were just kind of figuring it out. Thank you.
Thank you.
Love the outfit.
I just have a general question for anybody who it resonates with. What was the scene that left you needing to take a few days off? Oh, I'm sorry. What was the scene that left you guys needing to take a few days off in order to mentally recover? Other than the obvious.
Well, other than the obvious?
Yeah, I was going to say that.
In terms of the Negan.
I mean, other than the lineup scene?
Yeah.
Oh, wow.
It could be something subtle like Carl seeing his father again for the first time.
Yeah, for me it was Laurie's death actually. That like sequence because it took us. I mean, it was like right over my 13th birthday, which was like the worst 13th birthday ever. But it just that whole sequence just took us like so long to. It was at least 2 days for that whole just Laurie dying sequence and. Man, yeah, it was just a lot of crying, and just again and again and again for like 10 hours straight, and it was a lot. But at the end of the day, it's like it is, just another day at work, and like you can't take a few days off. You gotta just put the boots back on and and get back to work. And maybe that's not like the healthiest way for us to be, doing things, but that's how it goes. But. Right, yeah.
Well, just from a sheer exhaustion standpoint, Greg, we did.
I'm always the bad guy. What did I do?
No, I'm not
now?
saying you're the bad guy. We did one episode. I don't remember if it was somehow a shit ton of walkers get into Alexandria, and we have to fend them.
That's when Carl gets shot.
Yeah,
Is that
shot in the eye.
But
Yeah.
we did it. It was. That's right.
You
It was
had
a
to run down the street as the sun was coming up, and you had to go to a wedding.
I had to go to a wedding, but it was like 20. I can't remember how many hours. It was like the longest they ever had on the show was 23 hours straight, which was just insane. But I don't think it was that day. That was like 18 hours.
No,
But
that day,
was,
the 23-hour day, I think, was at the Smithsonian.
Oh, maybe that's it.
Yeah,
But
I directed that too.
yeah,
sorry.
that was a rough. But it was one of
are
those
they pointing
days
at
where you're
me?
just exhausted physically and emotionally, and you're doing all this like crazy action stuff and emotional stuff. And I remember he had to review the last take we did. We did it like I don't know how many times, but it was all the walkers coming down the
we
main.
had like 5 cameras at the same time, and you guys came running through, and the sun was coming up.
Yep. And it was just a lot of moving parts, and we had the sun coming up. That was going to be the end of the day for sure, but I had to go to a wedding in California, and we were in Atlanta, and I was one of the best men, so like I'm just like, are we done? And Greg's reviewing the footage in Video Village, and he literally, without even looking at me, he goes, go, go, go. And I ran as fast as I could, got in my car, drove like a bat out of hell to the airport. I don't know how the hell I got there in time. And I got through TSA. They didn't have an issue for some reason, which was insane because I'm covered in blood. And I go right up to I go up to the gate, and I'm like, hey, they're closing the door right as I get there. I'm like, I gotta get on this plane. I gotta get on this plane. Otherwise I'll miss the wedding. And they're like, sir, you need to calm down, because they thought I like killed someone, of course. And I was like, no, my buddy, I gotta go on this plane. They're like, and luckily one of the women was like, are you on The Walking Dead? I'm like, yeah. She's like, will you take a picture with us? I'm like, will you let me on the plane? She's like, yes. I'm like, okay, great, let's do it. And that was one of the craziest days of my life. And we couldn't rest after that. It was it was great.
That was a crazy night. So that was a night that Daryl shoots the rocket launcher into the lake, blows the lake up, all the zombies walk into the fire. Chandler gets shot in the eye. We made like a dummy of him that they had to carry and run around the whole and we killed Alexandra and
Austin Abrams.
that was, and you know what's wild about that episode? That was one of my favorite episodes. Originally, it was all going to take place during the day. It was all going to be during the day, and I went to Tom Luce, our producer, and fought and said, this is Night of the Living Dead. This is the zombies breaking into Alexandria. It has to be at night. We have to see zombies coming out of the darkness. And argued and fought and argued and fought, and finally I won the fight. And I think that's one of the scariest episodes because you're literally just surrounded by zombies in every street. That was a fun one.
Thank you for sharing your story.
All right, we only have about 5 minutes left or so we'll try to get through as many as possible. What's your name?
Hi, I'm Sophia. I love The Walking Dead. I think you guys are an amazing cast. Fun fact, I got to season 5 within 21 days of watching. And I was just wondering, it's a question for Greg, how was it like playing the walker that bit Amy?
Okay, so in season 1, the gag was she goes up to the door and she opens the door of the RV. And she turns to everybody, and you were there. And she turns and she's like, hey, there's I don't even remember the line. There's no toilet paper or something. So I was rehearsing with her, and I had sending videos to Frank Darabont. The door opens this way. She's got to get bit here. So we do this prosthetic on her arm. And I say to her, okay, so I'm going to play the zombie. When the door opens, I'm going to bite you. Just scream as loud as you can and fight. Try to pull away. I mean, I'm biting you. She's like, okay. So Johan Rennick was the director who directed Chernobyl, really good director. So they say action, she comes out, she opens the door, she says her line of dialogue, I come around, I bite, and I'm ripping the skin off of her arm, and there's blood spraying, and I don't hear any scream. And I'm like, heard no scream. And I'm like, well, I'm in it now. I mean, I'm staying character. So I bite her again, and I'm biting, and like 5 seconds goes by. And then I hear the most blood-curdling scream I've ever heard in my life. And then they yell, cut. And I'm like, are you okay? And she said, I looked down, and there was somebody tearing my arm open, and I went into shock. Like she saw the skin ripping and she saw the blood coming out and she literally froze. She's like, that's not supposed, like her brain told her that's not supposed to be happening. And she and she's like, I'm so sorry. I went, that was the most real reaction that you will ever have in your life. But when I bit her and I didn't hear any scream, I'm like, fuck it. I bit her again. I'm like, all right. And it's like 3 hours later, there's like bone, there's nothing left. I'm still chewing. Is somebody gonna say cut? So that's a good question.
Thank you.
Will you grab her the mic? Okay. Hey, what's your name?
Hi, my name's Paige. This is for you, Chandler. So, as a new, great, amazing director, which congratulations, I'm so proud of you.
It's just short films.
What is your goal for film or photography for 2025?
Oh man, I just want to keep working and just be on set. I mean, that's the whole reason like I started doing anything behind the camera in the first place is just to keep working. And I mean, it's insane times for the industry right now. Like no one is working in LA and everything's on fire. So, you know, it's not great. So yeah, I just want to be working and spend more time on set. So
Awesome.
yeah.
Awesome.
Yeah, thank you.
Congratulations. Thank you, Paige.
Hey, what's your name?
Hi, I'm Anne, and I met some of you earlier, but I have a question for Chandler. How did you feel like when you got bit saving Sadiq, and just to find out two seasons later that, oh, he's dead too?
I mean, I don't know. He's still like stuck around for a while and saved a lot of other lives, you know? Yeah, so it's not like Carl's death was ever in vain, you know? And plus, Carl, like him dying was there's a whole domino effect with like Rick's choices and, you know, Negan's choices and everything. So yeah, it did not matter that Sadiq ended up dying anyways. Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah, of course.
Hey.
Hello, my name's Gina, aka Lori Grimes. I had a question for the
You
cast.
gotta show off your outfit. You gotta you got the baby Judith there
Yep.
with the bullet.
The crazy thing, you said your name was Gina?
Yes.
My mom's name is Gina Ann, like my actual mom's name.
Oh,
And she's
very-
dressed up as Lori, as my character's
How
mom.
ironic.
Yeah.
My question, I talked to you about this, Greg, earlier. Who fathered my baby Judith?
Oh, boy.
Between the cast, since we didn't get the paternity test on Walking Dead. That's what I say.
I thought, didn't we decide at one point, I think that it was Shane? Yeah. I think
Yeah, Rick did too. Yeah, Rick
100%
just accepted it. That it was,
100%.
Yeah.
Shane.
Okay, thank you.
If you just want to, yeah, perfect.
He was in a coma for what, 2 months?
6 weeks, I think.
Okay.
6 weeks was the time frame between when he got shot and still long enough.
Hey, what's your name?
Kinnick.
What's your question?
This is more of a question for Chandler. How was it filming the first season?
Oh man, dude, it was such a mix of like it being such a blast and so much fun, but also so hot. Like every day at that quarry was like record-breaking heat, and I always felt so bad for you guys and for the zombies, and because I was clocked out at 9.5 hours. Like, you know, when you're under 16 and 18, you get to work less hours, which is awesome. But yeah, you guys had to stay there for like sun up to sundown.
Yeah.
But it was awesome. I mean, like literally I was 10, 11 and like being on set with like around a bunch of zombies and people killing zombies. It was like a video game. It was the coolest thing ever.
I'll tell you, one of the most amazing memories is when we were shooting when they're walking down, Glenn and Rick are walking down the street with the zombie guts on them, and it starts to rain and all the zombie guts start getting washed off of them. And we had 300 extras, so we had to get to work at 4 o'clock in the morning, make up all the extras, and then we would wrap at 9 o'clock at night, clean them all up, so it'd be like 11 at night, and then we had to be at work at 4 o'clock in the morning again to start over. And we did that for like 3, because we shot Wednesday through Sunday, because we were shooting downtown Atlanta, so we had to shoot in downtown Atlanta on Saturdays and Sundays, and they would close the streets. And I'll never forget, like, getting back to the Artmore Hotel, downtown Atlanta, and like we would all go to the bar and like, we should have one drink, and you have one drink, and we're like, wait a minute, we have to get up in 3 hours and go back to work
Let's
again.
have 10 drinks.
Yeah, we were too tired. But, you know, look, I mean, that was before the show had aired. Nobody knew what we were doing. I think the most exciting part was we shot for a month and a half, and then we left, and we went to Comic-Con, and we flew to San Diego, and we worked all night at the quarry, and then we jumped on a plane, we flew to San Diego, and we didn't sleep at all, and then we got on the panel, and they played a trailer for The Walking Dead. First time, like, so none of us had even seen any of the footage yet. And we all sat there like, oh my God, this is the show where, like, none of us had seen it yet. I don't think you were there.
No, I remember I was watching it, like, as soon as, like, on YouTube, people were, like, had on their, 2000, like, their iPhone 3s,
2010,
and, like,
yeah.
the, like, terrible, like, 240p, like, recording on YouTube that I was, like, watching from home, yeah.
And then and I'll tell you, those Comic-Cons, and because of people like you, that would reinvigorate us every year. We'd work our asses off May, June, July, and then at the end of July, we'd go to Comic-Con, we'd show the trailers, and then all the love and the respect and the admiration and the great gratitude we would get from you guys, we'd go back to Georgia like, all right, we're going to kill this. Let's go. We got 3 more months left. Let's do it. And that really gave us the energy to make the show even better. I'm sure you guys would agree because you guys were all there.
Thank you. Okay, we are technically at time. We got people waiting in the wings, but if it's okay, can we do like rapid fire?
We can't.
Okay.
They've been waiting the whole time.
We're going to rapid fire
them
it.
Off.
What's your name? What's your question?
Hi, my name is Lacey. You guys spoke about the fans' loyalty to certain characters. Mine personally was Abraham.
God love you. You're the most amazing person here.
With that
Pay
being
attention, people, because this is how you do it.
With that being said,
Uh-oh.
is there any particular characters besides your own that when you heard about the death that was coming, it like devastated you completely?
Scott Wilson. Herschel for sure.
Dude, everybody, like, I mean,
Yeah,
anytime we
everyone
got
had
the
their
phone
own,
call, yeah.
Who was the one person you were happy to hear that they were going to die? There's got to be one. There's got to be one. It's like, other than the governor. The governor, yeah, finally.
He was a great character, though. I loved the governor.
Sasha, for me, was probably one of the hardest because Sonequa is just a ball of kindness and hope
light.
and just the most wonderful. She's just the nicest person. And I think when she left the show, much like when these two gentlemen left the show, there was a missing piece there. There was not that sense of like joy and happiness that we used to have. It wasn't quite the same, So you kind of want everyone to stay alive, but the show wouldn't be as interesting, of course, if everyone lived all the time, So yeah, but Sasha was mine.
That's beautiful. Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, our final question. Then we're going to take a big group picture with everybody, if that's all right with y'all. Hey, what's your name?
My name is Mario, and I wanted to ask, how was working with John and Andrew during like the whole season 1 to 3? And I know because he kind of passed away with what was his name, Shane, during the end of season 3. I think I want to say 2. And how was that working with them during that time?
Yeah, I mean, dude, Andy is like really there could not be a single better person to be a number 1 on that show. Like, he was the absolute best and like set the tone so well for just the set in general. It was really like perfect, and I picked up so many things from that I had now put on every set that I'm on now, and it's just like things that he did just elevated that show so much. And John, like, man, dude, what an intense guy. Like, he was it's just like awesome. And I'm so honored that I got to have like the few scenes that I got to have with him, and just like just passionate, hardworking guy, and like there to just put 100% into every single scene. And just like awesome, just awesome guys. Like, the casting, like, they really could not have done a better job with casting.
Yeah. Nice.
Cool. Thank you for your question. I think we did it.
Yes.
Amazing.
Hey.
So I think the only appropriate way, we all take a picture together. So you want them to stay where they are for now? Okay, so we'll have you guys stand here facing the Nightmare Weekend wall.